And good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Ralph Williams One on One. Enjoy the music. Yes, indeed. My guest today is Steve Mancini, and we're going to talk about what he does. He works at Robert Morris, and he also has an Italian show with my friend Claudio Rosano, which is on Thursday nights at 5 p.m. on 620 a.m. KHB. All right, we're going to get ready for Steve right now. Absolutely. All right, Steve, welcome to the program. Thanks for being on. Steve
Hey, Ralph.
Mancini.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Hey, Steve, tell everybody out here, you work at Robert Morris. What do you do there?
Yeah, so I'm a adjunct professor. I teach different cyber classes, cybersecurity, IT tech classes, information systems, just kind of a mishmash of different IT and cyber classes. Basically, adjuncts pretty much get whatever's available. So it's a nice part-time gig.
Tell us about your Thursday night Italian show that you do with our friend Claudia Rosano.
Sure. So about a month and a half ago, Claudia and I we started a new show called Italian Impact Weekly. And the intent of the show is to kind of talk about topics like business, entertainment, medicine, sports, whatever, but kind of with an Italian spin. So it's not that, hey, you've got to be Italian to be on the show. The idea is we're a couple of Italian guys and we want to talk about stuff. So we're going to have
Right.
our kind of little spin, what I'll call our little cultural spin on things. And, we've been doing it now for about almost 2 months. It's actually, I'm really happy with it so far. We've had some really good guests on. In fact, when I get off this and we go on tonight, we're going to have John Cameron. He is the biographer for Rocky Marciano. So, kind of a cool
Wow.
thing. And then we've got, Mario Andretti's going to be on in about 3 weeks. And a few other names that we're just trying to confirm the date, so I don't want to say them, but like there's definitely been people on the show that you'll have heard of, and they've been actually really good interviews. So, instead of us trying to have one of those, gotcha shows or shock factor shows, it's a fun show. You can actually enjoy it. You are informed about things, but at the same time, you get entertained. So we like it. We've been doing a great job with it. I've enjoyed it a lot, and good Lord willing, we're just going to keep going with this thing.
I have enjoyed it as well.
No, I
Because I
appreciate
listened
that. I
to
appreciate that.
it. No
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, I'm planning on putting my show the way I see it, and possibly down the road, Sports Corner on 620 KHB. But lately, I've been, as you know, I've had some issues with my family. My nephew is still in stable condition down in Youngstown at a Youngstown hospital. He was involved in a car accident. And so our prayers are out there for it. I appreciate your prayers as well
Absolutely.
for my nephew, Sean. Um, Tell us about a little bit about cybersecurity these days. Is there a lot of demand for that? Do you have full classes? Because I know nowadays with some of these things, people aren't getting involved. They're not participating in these kind of classes.
So that's actually a good question. And the problem with the term cybersecurity is if I said to one person, what does it mean? They
Hmm.
might give me an answer. And I say, someone, what is cybersecurity? They give me something else. So you have to see cybersecurity as kind of like this all-encompassing umbrella that says anything IT, cyber technology, you want to secure it. The
Right.
challenge is, what are you securing? Are you securing your website? Are you securing, your network? Are you securing the payment systems? Are you securing, your personal computer? What are you securing? And so what happens is we create, a lot of people that are like, I want to get into cybersecurity because I heard there's a lot of jobs out there. And I'm like, oh, okay, what do you want to do? And they're like, I want to do cybersecurity. It's like, but what do you want to do? I want to do cybersecurity. And then you kind of got this, let's go round and round. Well, so I got to break down. So, well,
Right.
do you want to do, malware analysis? Do you want to do network intrusion? Do you want to be threat intel analyst? Do you want to be a fraud analyst? All of these kind of things fall under this umbrella. And so I think the problem is it became such a buzzword. And of course, what happens when the government finds out, or industry finds out there's a nice buzzword, we fire money at it. And when you start firing money at it, everybody says, I want to get involved. And then the universities say, we have degrees in cybersecurity. And it's like, well, who's teaching that degree and what are they learning? Well, they're learning cybersecurity. Okay, let's do this again. What's cybersecurity? What's cybersecurity? So here we go. So there's a ton of demand for it. But I think the problem is that people aren't being clear on what it even means as far as when they start saying, I want to get into cybersecurity. It's like, okay, but you got to realize it's a specific thing. It'll be like me saying, I want to get into sports. Okay. Which
Right.
sport?
Well,
And then
what
what do you want to
sport?
do?
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to be a trainer?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a coach? You want to be a player? And I think it's the same thing with cybersecurity. I want to get into cybersecurity. Okay, but which sport do you want to play? And so I teach classes and I teach like a variety of classes. I teach everything from programming to a class called offensive cyber. RMU has a great master's program, and I teach in it. It's a cyber analytics information masters. And so I teach like an offensive cyber course, which is a good example of if you said, well, I read about cyber attacks all the time. What does that mean? Well, great. Take the offensive cyber class, and I will show you how an adversary walks through their threat, model, like how they're going to target you, where are they going to get information, what kind of tools are they going to use once they breach your system, what are they going to do? So you walk through that. And then when the students are done with the class, they go, now when someone says they were hacked, you go, oh, I know what that means. Because now if I said to people, somebody got hacked, they go, well, what does that mean? It's like, all right, got it. So, there's a lot of classes there. I'm also doing like SQL classes, systems design classes. I
I
did
see.
a dark web class, which was kind of nice because a lot of students, it's kind of a bad thing, it was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to go on the dark web and buy drugs. It's like, maybe I shouldn't teach you this, but I kind of got to teach them because that's where the criminal element is. Because a lot of these students, they want to go off and they want to work law enforcement or different intel agencies.
Right.
So you kind of got to go where the fire is if you're going to be a fireman. So it's the same principle. So we teach them all of how everything works, the ecosystem of badness, as I call it, so that now they can actually say, "Oh, I want to play this sport," kind of using the same analogy. So
I
keeps
see.
me busy.
Well, that's great, Steve. Uh, you and I are from Bloomfield. We just by speaking privately, we just found out that we were neighbors at one time. What's your thoughts on Bloomfield these days? I know it's not the Little Italy it used to be. Lombardozzi's is gone. Dale's, Donatelli was a shocker. Now
Yeah.
Vento's and East Liberty. It seems like the Italian, the old fashioned Italian places are starting to fall. What do you think needs to happen? Do you think the younger generation needs to step up?
So great question because we talked about on my show a few months ago because I said to somebody on the show, and he was actually originally from Bloomfield. I said, I think it's not in Little Italy anymore. He says, well, he says, well, there's still Italians there, and there's still some things. It's just kind of a different, it's just kind of changing its stripes, if you will, a little bit.
Hmm.
But I think you and I are at that generation where we were there for the original, like
Yes.
the first immigrants, or maybe their
Yes.
kids. So that generation and their kids, they're gone.
Right.
And so what happens is the farther away you get removed from, for a lack of better term, the boat, because a lot of these people came in on boats, it's the people immigrating here are coming for different reasons from Italy. So that kind of were poor, impoverished, looking for work from Italy that came over here and opened up these businesses. Those people are gone. Their kids are gone. Maybe their grandkids are still around, but they moved out to the suburbs. And I think it's part of a bigger problem. It's a problem of cultures being forgotten. It's like we can forget some cultures, but not others. And so I think Italians, everyone says, oh, I'm proud to be Italian. They put their I Love Italy t-shirt on and they go out for Italian days. But it's like, okay, but what do you do the other 364 days to remember your culture, to promote your culture? And that has nothing to do with not wanting to be an American and being proud of American. I mean, I'm retired military. I spent 20 years in the military, but I'm allowed to say I'm a proud Italian American. Nothing wrong with that. I'm allowed to remember
Right.
my culture. I'm allowed to learn Italian. I'm allowed to like pizza. Everybody likes pizza. But so I think what the question is, I think the failure was the older generations. And I understand why they were basically pressured not to, they were pressured to assimilate. And so they didn't teach their kids, the language, the culture as much. So I
Right.
think that has been lost. So I think if people don't want to lose it before those final threads are gone, they better start learning the culture. And believe it or not, I believe, I don't care what country you're from, I don't care if you're German, Polish, Italian, French, South America, I don't care where you're from. I think you should remember things like something about your language from the root of the folks that immigrated here, something about your culture, something about understanding maybe the origins of certain food, whatever it is. So it's not, I think that makes you a better person because it makes you appreciate who you are because you are the result of other people's experiences that raised you. And if they didn't teach you something, then you are missing something in a way because that was part of the culture that wasn't passed on to you. So I think
Right.
the younger generation has to make a decision. They have to make a decision to say, we can be Americans, but we can
Yes.
also remember our great ancestors who came to this country and we can remember them proudly and maybe carry on some of those traditions just as a way to honor those people because I think what gets lost in this country is almost everyone that immigrated here at some point, especially the further back you go, probably wasn't a good experience. It probably wasn't a good experience getting here. You probably weren't coming from a good experience, and you probably didn't have a good experience right away when you got here. So there
Right.
was a lot of trial and tribulation in your life, in your family's life. So then you get here and then you work hard, and then hence the term the American dream. If you work hard, if you go to school, stay out of trouble, you can make it to basically middle class. And if you're really fortunate, you can make it, you can get rich, but you can make it to middle class if you just keep your head down, work hard, go to school. And so that was what created that American dream. And I think people take that for granted. And I think that does go back to forgetting your culture because when you forget your
Right.
culture, you forget the sacrifice that
Yes.
got you where you're at. So
Right.
I think the younger generation needs to, if they got to make a decision, it's an individual decision. So, you know what? I don't want to forget my roots. At the same time, I do think it's the responsibility of parents and grandparents to try to pass something down to the kids. I'm a believer in planting seeds in people. You might think your kids aren't paying attention to you. You might think someone's not listening to you. And they're, yeah, 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 yeah. Now, in this generation with the phones, they might legitimately not be listening to you. But,
Yes, exactly.
but but the
Yes.
reality is that you can at least plant a seed and
Right.
hopefully maybe it's 10 years from now that seed comes to fruition. And I'll give you one little funny story. I remember back in Bloomfield. So my neighbors, both of them spoke Italian. They were right off the boat. In fact, one John, then him and his wife were from Sicily. They
Right.
spoke Italian. Their English was very broken. Sometimes I didn't understand them, but so they were like right off the boat. But great guy. And I remember when I was a kid, he used to try to teach me little words in the garden. I mean, I was like maybe 6, 7 years old. So I'm just like, who's this, whatever. I'm a little kid running around. But I look back now and I think of that and I go, damn, that old adage, youth is wasted on the young, is so true because I missed an opportunity to, be to have picked up some of that stuff that I could know now. Because so what I did though is I basically took me 40 something years before I finally learned Italian. I could have
Wow.
had it when I was younger, but I
Right.
learned it in the last few years. I learned how to speak Italian. But have no illusion. Those people, whether they know it or not, had
Hmm.
an influence on my desire later to go, man, I've always wanted to learn that language. You know what? As long as I'm living, I'm alive, and as long as I'm alive, I'm gonna keep living, and I'm gonna keep learning something new and doing something every day of my life, God willing. So,
Well, that's great, Steve. And I'm from Bloomfield as well, and it's sad to see, the big ones go down, the
yeah,
Donatellis. It was sad to see Dell's go down, even after Robert Irvine and Restaurant Impossible tried to save them. Also, and then Lombardozzi's. Gosh, I used to go to for their lunch buffet all the
yeah,
time, and and I even ate off the menu in there, and I knew the server and maitre d there, Jeff, and so I mean, it's sad that these places, with these, especially the mom and pop and the younger generation nowadays, they really don't want to get into this. And I would
right.
rather actually, to be honest with you, Steve, and I think maybe you'll agree with me on this. I would rather the younger generation say, I'm not doing it, rather than trying to do it and not being able to do it right and making it go into the ground. Would you agree?
I would 1,000% agree. Either do it right or don't do it at all. In fact,
Exactly.
I went to school with Lombardozzi's son, the one passed away, rest in peace. Nino, good friend of mine, and again, you miss some of those people, and you think back to that stuff. But it's funny you said Lombardozzi's because to this day, I still
Uh-huh.
remember. I don't know. I keep forgetting what they're called. They're like the little half clam, and they've got the meat, and they've got the
Oh,
they were just
yeah.
delicious. I to this day, I remember those things, and that was like 20, 30 years ago when I ate them, but I
The
still
potato
miss their
balls. The
I mean,
potato balls were out of sight, man.
man,
Whoa.
but I tell you what's funny you say that though, because about I won't I tell you what, you'll probably guess the bar, but I won't tell it to you because I won't give it a bad name because it's still open. But I went into Bloomfield about maybe 3 months ago, and I went to a bar, and I'll just say it's a bar that's been around a while. That's kind of a staple of Bloomfield. And I went
I
there at
know it.
happy hour. I won't say it. And
No,
I
I
went there
know
at
it.
happy
I
hour,
know who it is.
and they didn't have chairs at the bar, and the TVs were turned off. And I'm like, this is almost like you're watching Bar
Oh,
Rescue, and you think
yeah.
Bar Rescue's fake. Then you go into a bar that literally has no chairs at the bar. The TVs aren't turned on, and you're like, are you trying to go out of business? It's like if you don't want this place to succeed, put a for sale sign on it because there's no way you can
Exactly.
tell me that having no chairs at the bar and no TVs on at happy hour is somehow going to invite people in to drink. And this is a place where people will gladly go in and drink. But there you go.
Oh, absolutely. I know which one it is because
I won't
we
say it.
talked about it on the phone, and I'm
Yep.
not gonna say their name either, but I know who they are. Because back in the day, when one of the original owners had it, my grandfather worked for them, so I know
Ah.
exactly who it is. You
That
know what
used
I
to be a
mean?
great place. The
Yes.
food's still good. I mean, the food's not bad, but again, you go in there and you're like, "What are you thinking? Is this
I
like?"
haven't been in there in
Don't
probably
bother.
5 years, maybe
Man,
more.
don't bother.
I
Yeah,
haven't been. But at
again, but
least
yeah.
at least Bloomfield still has Tesaros. I mean,
Yeah,
they make a good
yeah.
hamburger.
That's probably gonna be one that's gonna be around a while. But
Yeah.
it is funny you say that because with all these places going, and now, you have, quote, "Little Italy days," which, look, let's have no illusions, just because you've
It's
got a pizza vendor or 2 out there, it is not Little Italy days, but that's
right.
fine. Call
Exactly.
it what you wanna call it. It's Little Italy
Exactly.
days. I
Yes.
still go, I like to go do it. I call the pilgrimage. I go to my Graham's house and kind of walk past it. I go get a pizza from,
Right.
I guess, is it Pizza Italia? Oh, I forgot when they're in the corner.
Yeah,
Across from,
they're not open right now, Pizza Italia.
that's the one that's across from the bakery, right? Across the street from the
Uh,
bakery? Who's the one's
one
like, where
Oh,
the
that's Angelo's.
Angelo's, that's it, not
Angelo's.
Pizza Italia,
Yes.
Angelo's.
Angelo's is still there,
Yeah,
yes.
they're look, this is free
Yeah.
advertising. Their pizza's
I know.
delicious. I don't care. Their pizza's delicious, and
Their pizza is good, yes.
it is
All their
worth
food
going into
is good.
Bloomfield to have a piece of their
And
pizza, and
Pizza
it
Italia was once good. The new owners
are
took
they
over.
clo are they gone, or are they just under renovations?
Well,
Got it.
I'm gonna
That's
tell you.
nice, says it all.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna tell you. Okay, I might not live in Bloomfield, but I have friends that still live in Bloomfield, and I got friends that can dig into some rumors or into some stories. And I'll tell you
That's
what
my
happened to
Bloomfield.
Pizza Italia. Pizza Italia had a fire at their location, at their original location. Okay, and then what had happened was they were suspected of, and I don't know if this is true, insurance fraud. So the insurance company wouldn't pay for it. They ended up moving down to Sancholi's Bakery down there on Juniper Street. And well, Sancholi's is gone too. They're out of business too. So I went down to Pizza Italia down there one day about 6 months ago to go get a Pizza Italia, and they were closed. And it said they were closed. Now they're working on the new building, but I heard the owner has to pay for everything on his own, and he's been down at Sancholi's bakery for about 3 years now, maybe more.
Uh,
So that's what's going on. So they're still working on their building, and they haven't opened up yet. So
well,
that's the story of Pizza Italia.
I can't speak to that in any way, shape, or form, but I know Pizza Italia used to have another one used to have
Yeah.
really good pizza.
Yeah. Well, the
I'll look
Richies
forward to
sold
them
it.
opening up. Right.
Yeah, the Richies sold it about 6, 7 years ago. They got out of it. Dominic did after Augie passed away, and so Dominic got out of it, and he sold it to some other guy. And this always happens. It's my business. I can do whatever I want. But they agreed that when they bought the business, they were supposed to use the Pizza Italia recipe, and you know where that went.
I
Okay.
don't, but I'll take your
Yeah.
word for it.
Yeah.
I
You
would
know
like to
where that
not
one.
get caught up in this because I have no idea. That's one of the things that I did not like about Bloomfield is there's way too much there's too much conjecture.
Yeah.
And I'll
Yeah.
just leave it at that. So I mean, I enjoy,
Yeah.
I grew up, I got out, I was out of there when I was 17. I just go back to visit a few things. Again, Angelo's. I kept thinking they were pizza
Yeah.
too, but either
Angelo's.
way,
Yeah. Yeah.
Angelo's is
They
delicious
make some
pizza.
really good pizza. They're still there. Grocery Italiana's still there. You know.
They almost went under too, if I'm not
Yeah. They
mistaken. Yeah,
did.
but I'm
Yes.
glad that they made it because you got to have an Italian
You
grocery
gotta have
store in
something there,
Bloomfield,
some
right?
kind of an
Right.
Italian grocery
Well,
store. I
yeah.
was just in Youngstown, and they have a really nice Italian place down there. It's a deli, and they serve hot food, but it's cafeteria style. You got to go up and get it.
Oh,
It's already prepared, and what they do is, it's heated. It's already prepared, and you sit down, you order it up at the deli. They have a deli. They have it's an Italian store, just like Donatelli or Groceria. It was called Jimmy's, and we brought some stuff back. I mean, they had some really good tortellini with Alfredo sauce and peas. Oh my gosh, that was so good, Steve. Melted in my mouth. Other than that, that was about the only thing good about Youngstown. Excuse me for saying that.
I get it.
Uh,
We're from
yeah,
Pennsylvania. We're supposed to feel that way.
yeah, well, you know what? I've been to some places in Ohio, and trust me, Youngstown's somewhere I don't want to be back at. Trust me, it's not a pleasantable place. Okay. Everybody's mean down there. Everybody's angry. And if you thought it was bad in Pittsburgh, you think people here are angry. Go down there one time.
I'll
Jeez.
take your word. That's not going to be on their tourism commercial, I'm
No,
guessing.
no, not at all. None
Oh, good
whatsoever.
stuff.
And I blast, or I have a segment on my The Way I See It show called Life Story, and I told my life story twice about Youngstown in the two shows I did, and then I had to cancel one because my nephew was in real critical condition. And then I did the other one this week on Tuesday, and I said some more things about Youngstown. I'm not afraid to let it out. It's just I had a rough time all across the board. The hospital staff, I mean, not the whole staff.
Right.
The ICU people were nice. The escort was nice because I'm in a wheelchair. The escort was nice. They took me to where I needed to go. Very nice people. Front desk had no clue. The front information desk, no clue at all, none. Uh, a security personnel person trying to tell my wife she can't park in a certain spot in the handicap lot, but then when she asked the guy, "Well, where do I go to park?" He didn't even answer her. Didn't even answer her, Steve. This is the type of stuff. I had to call administration 4 times. I had to get emergency script sent to the pharmacy there. They sent it out to Walgreens because they didn't like the way they said that my wife copped an attitude. So they sent it out. And I went down there and I said to this pharmacy manager, I said, let me ask you a question. If everybody comes in here and cops an attitude and you kick them all out, what's going to happen? They're going to die.
Or
Okay.
you're going to lose a lot of business.
Or you're going to lose a lot of patients in business. Yes, exactly. So I was kind of frustrated with that, but Jimmy's was really good. If by some chance you're ever in Youngstown, Jimmy's is the place to be.
Oh, all right,
That's
I'll look it up.
old, authentic. They make the meatballs homemade. There's somebody they're making, like the older lady, they're making pasta, and everything else, talking Italian. Yeah, it's Jimmy's. Yeah, they're really good down there. That was the only bright spot of our whole trip down there. So I mean, but about Youngstown. But yeah, it's sad to hear about Bloomfield. It really is. I grew up in Bloomfield for a long time. I had to get out. Then I came back in 2014, 15, and then in 16 and 17. Now I live up here near Mount Washington in the Allentown section of the city of Pittsburgh. So I'm here now. I still go to Bloomfield every now and again, but it's when I do go down Liberty Avenue, I shake my head because some of even the older bars still aren't there anymore. They're brand new names,
Right.
different types of things. And, there's a cultural change. You have these, what do they call them? Millennials. And then you have these yippies and, or hipsters or whatever. Yeah. And it's Bloomfield and Lawrenceville's even changed too. I mean, there were a lot of great things in Lawrenceville, and now that's high class. They're telling me I talked to somebody within the city because I know some people, some city officials, they told me within the next probably 5 years, maybe even less than that, Lawrenceville's going to be the next South Side. So that's where we are with Lawrenceville. So,
Good
and I
luck.
remember the days of playing baseball against Lawrenceville and all that stuff. And that stuff don't even exist anymore. It's really
Yeah.
sad how
No
some
real
of these
schools in
culture
the There's no
changes.
schools in Bloomfield anymore, if I'm not mistaken. There's no
Well,
schools over there.
Wolfsler's still there. Wolfsler's still down
Oh,
at
down
40th
on, yeah.
and Liberty. Yeah.
That's got to
Wolfsler
be
is
the
still
only
there.
school,
And
though.
yeah,
Well, as far as the
Immaculate
Bloomfield area, there's
Conception.
nothing in there.
Yeah, Immaculate Conception Church and
Gone.
school were done. They merged, and
I mean,
now,
St. Joseph's is closed. They're
yeah,
all
I'm
closed.
very, very angry with the Catholic diocese, and you're not going to believe who works for the Catholic diocese right now.
You?
No, Jennifer Ankowiak. Remember her?
No
She
idea.
used to be a news anchor for Channel 2 at one time. Jennifer Ankowiak. She works for them. And she promised the people of Bloomfield that they were not going to close St. Joseph's Church. And guess what they ended up doing? Closing St. Joseph's Church. And then they closed Immaculate Conception and made everybody go to St. Joe's. Now everybody has to go to St. Augustine.
Now, is St.
But
Joe's closed for like a renovation, repair? Is it just one of these
renovation,
different?
yeah.
Okay, so it'll be open again, though.
No, it's not at all. They're not
Ever?
opening it
Oh,
because the pastor came, or the father, he come on and they interviewed him, and he said that the Catholic diocese told him they don't have any money to do anything with it. So they're all at St. Augustine now.
wow.
And
Now, where is
I
that
was
at?
there
I
not
don't
too long
remember
ago
that one.
for a funeral.
Where's
And
St. Augustine? I don't remember that one.
yeah, they're down to 37th and Butler down there in Lawrenceville.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Okay, you are a
yeah.
ways off.
Yeah, that's where they are. And I was just there not too long ago, a few months back for a funeral. I had a friend of mine's husband died, and I had to go. I went to the funeral, and so I was there. And St. Augustine's was very welcoming. They were nice people, and I didn't have any issues with them down there. Steve, thanks for being on the program. I really appreciate you being on. We had a really nice time here on Ralph Williams One on One. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to tune in when Ralph Williams One on One is on, because I always have some great interview. And Steve here has been a great interview. And I always bring on great guests, some good guests that are informative as to what they do. My last show last week, I had a guy on named Parks McGregor. He's a specialist in body cams, and he was telling me about how the police across the country have their hands tied, just like they do in Pittsburgh here. Their hands they're handcuffing our police all across the country, and they're not letting them do their job. And it's getting really out of control. But but Steve, thanks for being on the program. Hope to have you back on again, or we'll line up and do something here.
Awesome. Thanks, Ralph. Appreciate you having me on again,
All right,
folks.
have a
Tune
great
in
one.
Thursdays
Thanks,
at
Steve.
5 p.m.
I'll be listening to your show
All right.
tonight on KHB,
Thanks, Ralph.
6:20 a.m. The
Got it.
Italian Impact Show with Steve Mancini and Claudio Rosano.
All right. Take care.
All right. Steve Mancini here on Ralph Williams One on One. Just a few announcements. Don't forget tonight at 7:30 on Blog Talk Radio. 347-205-9631 is the number to call for the wrestling and sports talk. Myself, Mark Mancini, and Smoking Jim Frazier. 347-205-9631. We have McKeesport that calls in. We've had Fraser Township. We've had a bunch of 412s that have called in, left comments and everything. You can do the same thing. 347-205-9631. Also, don't forget on this Saturday and every Saturday, 5 p.m. PCTV Channel 21, Comcast 47 Verizon Cable is Sports Corner with myself and Smoking Jim Frazier. Also, don't forget on next Thursday, we will have our my monthly taping of The Way I See It, where I will be on taping, but I will be live on PCTV's Facebook page, The Way I See It. And that'll be next Thursday, March 23rd. This is the live call-in that we normally have at the beginning of the month, but I had to cancel it due to my family situation with my nephew. So that will be done on the 23rd. And don't forget April 6th, PCTV Channel 21, Comcast 47 Verizon Cable, and Sports Corner Draft Special, NFL Draft. I'm going to try to have a bunch of guests on. I'm lining up some people right now. April 6th, mark your calendar, 6 p.m. start time, and you can call in as well. We're going to be talking and dissecting who we think the Steelers are going to take I have a draft I always put together as to who I believe they're going to take, and we'll see. Last year I was way off as to what who they took last year. I think this year they're going to do better, but we'll let that go. April 6th, 6 p.m. live, PCTV channel 21, Comcast 47, Verizon Cable in Allegheny County, and also live on PCTV's Facebook page as well as social media. And we're on 4 platforms here of all RW media shows are right here on 4 platforms: Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and also don't forget too, we're going to be getting started the radio edition. So you'll be able to see the social media edition, the radio edition, and the TV edition of The Way I See It coming up real soon. As soon as I get finished with a few things here, I'm going to have my radio show up and running. I am Ralph Williams. This has been Ralph Williams One-on-One. Have a great night, and thank you.